So the first one is obviously eating right. There are so many diets. Okay. So I'm a holistic health practitioner, and unless and until if any specific kind of a diet is required for your body's condition, then you opt for that particular type of a diet. For example, it can be a keto, a paleo, or a vegan diet. If your body calls for it, then you definitely do it. Okay. If not, if your goal is just to reduce weight or anything, you will be able to do it with a wholesome diet and a traditional diet as well. What your grandparents ate are more genetically applicable to you. Okay. And One thing that you'll need to understand is that never cut out any particular type of a food completely. Okay. So we have this practice of cutting out one single category. So be it protein, or either we cut it off fully, or you have fats which you cut it off fully, or you have this carbohydrates which you cut it off fully. Okay. Never ever cut any category in your diet. That is very, very important. You can go up or down in terms of percentage based according to your body's need, but never ever cut out any kind of a category. Okay. So one thing that you'll need to understand is that what your grandparents eat, what your great grandparents eat, we all have the same kind of gene. Okay. So we tend to have, I mean, these foods resonate more in our body, and you tend to have better results when you follow your traditional diet. Okay. So that is something that you will need to understand at the core. Okay. So Mediterranean diet, do not engage in a, I mean, I wouldn't say do not engage in a Mediterranean diet, but understand what a Mediterranean diet is. It is predominantly cutting out all kinds of red meats. Okay. Consuming more of fish and chicken from time to time. But then people just get fixed on the red wine alone. Okay. So it's not about that. Okay. So from a little bit of red wine is what they take. But then apart from that, they take in more servings of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis. They take almost a minimum of 5 to a maximum of 11 veggies and fruits in their daily diet. Okay, so that is the key there, not the other stuff that we actually look for. Okay, so for us, the traditional diet, we've always been a carbohydrate country. Okay, so we do have a lot of carbs in our diet, but then do not cut out carbs completely. Your body needs energy, and energy is easily derived from glucose. Okay, which your body takes as simple carbohydrates. Okay, so it's from carbohydrates. So again, when it comes to carbohydrates, you have simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. Okay, so whatever the colored rices, the millets, everything comes under a complex carbohydrates. Your simple sugars are basically the white sugar, and all kinds of sugar, and all processed foods are coming under simple sugars. Any kind of processed foods comes under simple carbohydrates. Okay. So you would need to cut out on the simple carbohydrates and opt for more complex carbohydrates. Okay. So meaning, even if you're going to use wheat, make sure that you use in whole wheat, or use it in a combination of both wheat and millet flour. Okay. So that your body doesn't boost up the sugar levels instantly, but whereas when you choose the complex carbohydrates, the sugar hike is very slow. Okay, so this ideally will happen when you have a craving or for sugar. It's ideally your body is asking for carbohydrates, because that is the base that your body works on, which is glucose. Okay, your brain needs glucose, your whole body needs glucose for energy. When you choose the simple carbohydrates, the spike happens immediately and the drop happens immediately. Okay, so as soon as the drop happens, you'll start feeling hungrier and you will crave for more sugar only. Okay, so when you choose in the complex carbohydrates, the hike is going to be very slow. Okay, and your drop is also going to be very slow, which means you will have stable sugar levels in your body. At the same time, you will not have a very immediate hunger or something. Okay, so that is something that you need to understand about carbohydrates. People who have a thyroid issue already, make sure that you definitely take in a bit of carbohydrates, because it is very much ideal for your thyroid functioning as well. Okay, and calorie count is also there, which can help you in the beginning, but then do not stick with just calorie counting. I would say eat intuitively. That would be the best one. Okay, so we have an inert, an inert, I would say inert. We have something inside our body, okay, which will actually help us to understand our own appetite. Okay, but that actually works only when you have this patience with when it comes to food. And undistracted way of eating is also very much important. Okay, so when you ideally take in any kind of food, okay, so make sure that you don't do it in a mindful way. Okay, so do not watch TV or do not take in your phones or anything. Just dedicate 15 to 20 minutes just for your food, and then you start eating it. So as you chew, okay, so the more you chew, your body will basically get a signal on what you're actually eating. Is it a meat? Is it a protein? Is it a carbohydrate, or is it a fat? Okay, so based on what you're trying to put inside your body, and while chewing, your body actually gets a clue what you're eating, and based on that, your acids actually change in your body. Okay, so but when you eat faster without any kind of a chewing, okay, it gets immediately inside, and that itself can lead to more heartburn because your body has no clue on what you have actually put inside. So it has no clue on how to digest that, and it takes a longer time for that to digest, and obviously that will lead to heartburns in a couple of minutes. Okay, so and after a certain point of time, and there is too much of this interaction going on, like a disrupted interaction happening in your body, that will lead to more gastric issues as well. Okay, and that will also further lead to more digestive issues like constipation or even IBS in some cases. Okay, so biohacking is also about understanding to use certain devices in your life. Okay, and to just check how your body is functioning based on these. Okay, so you have your watches, you have your phones that can track your number of steps that you take, number of stairs that you climb, and you have these digital watches that can help you in tracking what is your heartbeat, how many calories you've burnt, and everything. Of course, the next step would be to use a glucose monitor, but then it's not really very recommended for everyone. If you have been diagnosed with borderline diabetes or insulin resistance in case of PCOS, then probably you can use glucose monitors to just check how your things are functioning as well. Okay, the next one, please. Right, so when we speak about food, the first thing that comes in biohacking is basically intermittent fasting. Okay, so how do you do intermittent fasting? What is intermittent fasting will be a question for few. Intermittent fasting is basically restricting yourself in eating only for a certain period of time. Okay, so certain number of hours is where you start restricting your body. Okay, so for example, we have different types of windows. Okay, so we have 12 to 12, we have 10, 14, we have 16, 18. Okay, there are different time windows where you can put in food. So 12 to 12 is where you give your body 12 hours window to put anything inside. Okay, and 12 hours of fasting where you don't eat anything, you just consume water. Okay, and the next one would be 10, 14. Okay, where you restrict yourself for 14 hours of fasting and 10 hours of eating, and then you have 16 and 18 where you restrict yourself for 8 hours of 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of food intake. Okay, so this is how intermittent fasting is basically based. There are even few people where they eat throughout the week. Okay, and weekends they fast. Okay, so that is also there. So the most commonly known is Ekadasi Varadam that we all have. Okay, so which is basically fasting on one particular day throughout in the month. Okay, so that can also come under intermittent fasting. You can also consider that way as well. And every religion, like for the Ramzan, we have some kind of a fasting. For Easter, for Lent days, we have a different kind of a fasting. And obviously in Hinduism, we have different types of fasting going on from time to time. So these are all based on the concepts of intermittent fasting too. Okay, so the most common one that we do on a daily basis would be a 12 to 12 or a 10 to 14. Okay, but when you start with an intermittent fasting, I would recommend you to start with 12:1. Go, I mean, 12 to 12, and go for at least 6 months with that. Then you progress to the next one. Okay. Immediately do not go into 16:8 because it will never work well for your body because you're calorie restricting it too much. Okay, which will lead to its own issues. Okay. Men are way different from how a women's body is working. Okay, so both the bodies work in a very different way. And it's also equally important for you to understand that most of the research is done on intermittent fasting has been done on men. Okay, and it's never not primarily focused on women. So women, when you start an intermittent fasting, make sure that you do only for 12 to 12. Okay, do for 6 months and then you shift to 10 to 14. I do not recommend more than 10 to 14. Okay, there are people who might say even 16-8 works. Okay, but then I do not recommend more than 10 to 14. The reason is because your body's need varies from cycle to cycle, because I mean, like from day to day, because of your menstruation cycle. Okay, there are 4 different parts in your menstruation cycle, and each week has a different level of nutrient intake. It requires a different level of nutrient intake. So I wouldn't recommend you moving further than 10 to 14. Okay. You can easily do a 12-hour fasting. How do you do it? It's basically you finish off your dinner somewhere around 7:30. Okay. So this is something called as circadian rhythm. Okay. So you follow the sunlight. Okay. So maximum you fix your dinner time at 7:30. Finish off your dinner at 7 o'clock, for example. Okay. And then you have 5 hours until midnight. Okay, so in case if you need anything, you just stick on with water to drink. Okay, so 5 hours until midnight, and say for example you sleep by 10 o'clock. Okay, so which means you've given 3 hours after food to your bed. Okay, which means your body will be able to sleep better. Okay, so that is one thing. And then say you wake up by morning 6 o'clock. Okay, so if you had your food by 7, okay, and you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you've already given almost 11 hours of a break. Okay, so immediately after getting up, drink again some water for 1 hour, and then you have any breakfast or any solid foods put inside your body after 7 o'clock. So by this itself, anyways, we have our own personal hygiene time that can take almost an hour to finish off and everything. So that itself will be a 7 to 7 hour window that you can do on a daily basis. Okay, so initially it would be difficult for you to adapt, but then slowly just bring in one by one in terms of practices, you will be able to achieve this 12 to 12 itself. Okay, so what are the benefits of doing an intermittent fasting? It helps in the random insulin that is circulating in your body when you take in untimely foods. Okay, so every time you eat a food, okay, it needs to get absorbed inside your body. So what your pancreas does is that it sends a surge of insulin, and it asks the cell to just go grab whatever glucose molecules is available as soon as you put something inside your body. And when you eat untimely foods, especially after 8:30, your body is by default entering into an insulin resistant state, meaning whatever that you're going to put inside your body is not getting digested well. Okay, so make sure that you cut off your carb intake or whatever intake that you have by 7:30 maximum, nothing beyond 8 o'clock. Okay, or if you definitely need something, opt for low calorie foods. Okay, or low sugar foods like apples. Okay, apples or guavas, they can actually help. Now this insulin, the randomly circulating insulin after a certain point of time can lead to type 2 diabetes where your pancreas is worn out. Okay, and when you consume in too much of foods, that can cause an inflammation inside your body. Okay, which is basically, see, what is inflammation? Basically, if you cut your hand, okay, you might see that your the sides of that scar might bulge a little bit, and only then it will start healing. Okay, so that bulge is actually called as is caused by inflammation in your body, and that can happen to your internal organs too. Okay, so when you reduce one main reason for the brain function to degrade is inflammation. Okay, so that is caused by primarily high number of processed foods or high calorie intake. Okay, so what we do is that we tend to lower this inflammation, which will actually lower the inflammation, lower the stress also inside your body. Okay, so that can be done through intermittent fasting. And then obviously after a certain point of time, when you don't give in anything to your body, okay, and if you are in the obese state or if you are in the overweight state, you have a lot of fat deposits, for example. Okay, what your body will start doing, that it will start drawing energy from the fat deposits that you have in your body that can lead to weight reduction as well. Okay, but like I said, 12 to 12 would be an ideal start. Okay, do 12 to 12 first. Okay, and then after the 6 months of 12 to 12, then shift to 10 to 14. Okay, which will be an ideal transition state. For women, I would say stick with just 12 to 12. If you're really into intermittent fasting, then do 10 to 14. Never go beyond 10 to 14, because the researches for all 16-8 is done only on men and menopausal women, and never on women who are in their 30s or 40s, which is ideally our fertility state. Okay, so, and it's also equally important for you to understand that you need to hydrate really very well and choose nutrient dense food so that you don't feel hungry in the fasting window too. Okay, so choosing a lot of fiber rich food or low glycemic index carbohydrates, which is primarily the millets, or you have the red rice, black rice and everything, which can actually help in a very slow rise of blood sugar inside your body. So which will, and it also has its own micronutrients and fiber too. So you won't feel hungry for most of the time. Okay. And based on how your body is responding, you can shift your intervals as well. And during those 12 hours or 14 hours of rest that you're taking, the fasting that you're taking, you can include in your sleep too. Okay, so that's also something that you can do. The next one, please. Okay, now coming to exercise. Okay, so exercise, again, it's widely based on how you respond to certain exercises. Okay, so now for those who are heading to gym, okay, so my general recommendation for women, okay, considering the period cycles and everything, and what I usually tell is that women do not engage in too much of cardio or HIIT exercises. Okay, stick with more of slow exercises or weightlifting. So when I say slow exercises, basically yoga and and Pilates and everything. Okay, you will be able to lose a lot of weight when you're doing high cardio activities, but after a certain point of time, that will increase stress in your body. Okay, and by which there is also a chance that you will be increasing the testosterone levels in your body that can lead to PCOS as well. I agree that the most common one suggested for a PCOS is HIIT exercise that you need to do, but HIIT exercise is considering only something called as the insulin resistant state. Okay, but they do not consider the other things, which is primarily an adrenal fatigue where you find yourself tired for most of the time. Okay, so women, if you're finding yourself very difficult, or you find it very tiring, or you need to definitely sleep off after a workout, especially cardio workouts, or it doesn't give you a good feel after doing a workout, get off it and try some very mild exercises at the same time, strengthening exercises like yoga, Pilates and weightlifting. Okay, men, you can definitely engage in all kinds of cardio and HIIT exercises. So make sure that you choose the right kind of exercises to which your body is responding well. Okay, so it's also important for you to understand that kind of a change, that kind of an exercise which will work best for you, and then you can probably engage in those ones on a regular basis. So CDC recommends 150 of minimum, in moderate to intensity activity. That is what they recommend, 150 minutes. And also you'll need to make sure that you have a routine so that you will have a motivation at the same time for you to work on all these things. Okay, so if you don't have the time to dedicate, especially for a workout or something, make sure that you do it in your regular activities, like you walk more inside your home, or you take the stairs, or you walk more from place to place, whichever and whenever possible you take stairs. All these things can also be included as a part of moving enough as well, right? And the next one, please. Right, so sleep, obviously we all ask everyone to sleep for at least 8 hours a day. Okay, sometimes this is not possible, but then it's make sure that you at least try to fit in the sleep as much as possible, because this is the most important thing that you need to understand. People just think that, okay, I'm sleeping and I'm done with it. Okay, but there are even people who do not have a peaceful sleep at night. They have a very disturbed sleep, and even after sleeping sometimes 7, 8, 9 hours, they still find themselves really very tired in the morning. Okay, so you know why? The reason is because you're not setting a good routine for sleep. Okay, so one thing you need to understand is that by cutting down all kinds of digital devices before you go to sleep, for example, like all kinds of blue light emitting devices like TV or cell phones, can disrupt something called as a pineal gland in your in your brain. Okay, so this pineal gland's work is to identify if it is day or night. Okay, so when this pineal gland sense it's night, okay, it starts urging, it starts to send something called as melatonin, which will give you a peaceful sleep at night. Okay, but when there is too much of interaction with the blue light, you may not be able to sleep well. Okay, because too much of blue light interaction gives a signal to your body that it is day. Okay, so ideally it is recommended that you put down all kinds of blue light devices by 9 o'clock, Or if you still have work and you still need to complete with your laptops or your phones, make sure that you have the night light switched on. Okay, so you have night light options on your laptops and your cell phones now. So all kinds of digital devices actually have. So you can switch them out so that it doesn't interact so much. Okay. And the next one is to keep your smartphones and gadgets really very away from your bed. Okay. So at least 4 to 5 feet away from your bed is recommended. Okay. Because and also make sure that you switch off all kinds of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth or whatever options is switched on in your devices. Make sure that you switch it off. Okay. Preferably even switch off your micro ovens at home, and also so Wi-Fi. Okay. And one way to reduce the EMF radiations in your home is to invest in some home plants. Okay, so you have plants like jade, areca palm, which can actually help in reducing the EMF interactions around you. And again, by keeping off all these things outside your bedrooms will also be really very helpful, like putting off your say, what do you call, the laptops or televisions in your room can also actually benefit a lot. Okay. And taking a warm bath with some Epsom salt can actually help in unwinding yourself before sleep. Okay, so take a nice warm bath with some Epsom salt in it. A tablespoon of Epsom salt or 2 tablespoons of Epsom salt, it has magnesium in it, which is a relaxant. Okay, so it can relax your muscles and you will fall asleep a little bit better. Okay, so make sure you do that. Or if you find it difficult to immediately switch to this routine, obviously reading a book can actually help in unwinding yourself. Something that can bore you a little bit, okay, because reading any kind of thrillers or anything will keep you engaged. Okay, so make sure that you choose the right kind of books as well. And if you still find very difficult to sleep at nights, you can get in touch with your care provider and you can take in melatonin, which can actually give you, I mean, it's a supplement which can actually help in unwinding yourself and sleep a little bit better. That is also something that you can do. So maintaining your circadian rhythm is very important, which is basically following the sunlight and moonlight. Okay. So try having most of your foods by sunlight. Okay. And try unwinding everything by moonlight. Okay. So that is one thing that can actually support you in maintaining a good sleep cycle. Why is it really very important for you to sleep well is basically your body tends to detoxify itself. All the major organs tend to detoxify itself at night. Your kidneys, your liver, your heart, your lungs, and everything are majorly detoxifying at nights only. For that, you'll need to have a good quality sleep. Only when you tend to have a good quality sleep at night, you will be able to detoxify everything from your body. Okay, so that is really very important. Plus, those organs also require a rest, right? So for that, you'll need to sleep well. And for you to engage in that deep sleep, you should try to maintain a routine by staying away from all kinds of blue lights and white lights, which is important. Okay, the next one, please. And obviously, by managing stress, you reduce the high levels of inflammation in your body too. So there are different types of stresses. Okay, so one is basically called as oxidative stress, where you tend to have a lot of oxidative stress by even by smoking. Okay, or even by constant interactions with EMF. Okay, so electromagnetic flux. Okay, so we tend to have a lot of EMF around us, from laptops to digital devices, from Wi-Fi routers, from tall towers and everything. So it's important for your body to reduce that EMF interaction. Okay, when there is too much of EMF interaction, then you have too much of stress in your body, and by the wrong kind of food habits and everything, you also engage in too much of oxidative stress. So what does this oxidative stress does to you is basically you have your cells. Okay, your cells have something called as mitochondria. Okay, which is the energy factory for you. Okay, what ideally happens is that this mitochondria's functioning will go down. Okay, so when it ideally goes down, you will start feeling very lethargic. Okay, so people outside may see you as lazy, but then it's basically you find it difficult to work. Okay, you're not lazy, your body is not able to cope up with it. Okay, and when you're having too much of this like poor mitochondrial functioning, obviously after a certain point of time you will start experiencing lethargy, aches, racing heart, which is palpitations, and then you have anxiety issues and digestive issues starts, and then you also have some sexual issues like arousal, or even it can be say erectile dysfunctioning too. Okay, so all of us, most of us working, we actually sit down for quite a longer time. which basically engages in all these kinds of stresses too. Okay, so it's important that you move a little bit so that your body can function a little bit better. At the same time, how do you reduce the stressor, right? So for reducing stress, you start with reducing the EMF interactions. Okay, so like I said, cutting off from all kinds of digital devices, that would be helpful. And the next one is called as grounding. Okay, which is basically you stand barefoot on floor, and not on floor, on ground. Okay, which is basically, it can be a piece of lawn or it can be even a piece of sand, but something that is on earth. Okay, this is called grounding or earthing. Okay, where you can stand, and this helps in reducing the EMF interactions from your body, and it kind of detoxes it. So you can Google on this. Okay, so you will have more information on how to do grounding. It's very simple, as straightforward it is. Okay, so you just stand on ground in barefoot. Okay, and this actually helps in calming yourself down better as well. Okay, if you find your stress to be too much, you can work on some herbal remedies too. Check with your care provider and work on having some kind of herbal remedies like tulsi, ashwagandha, and everything. The dosage depends on how your body is functioning. So it's best to check with a care provider to get those ones, and that can also help in reducing your stress levels. And also make sure that you calm yourself through meditation. Okay, meditation it doesn't ideally mean that you'll need to sit in a corner, close your eyes, and chant Om and everything. Okay, so even a meditation can be Zentangling, some art therapies, or something that keeps you engaged, but then it calms you down, but it doesn't put your brain into too much of working. Okay, so that can also be considered as a part of meditation. You can do that. For some, exercises can reduce stress. Like I said, for men, actually, cardio exercises can actually help in calming themselves sometimes. But for women, it is the other way around. Okay, so do not engage in too much of stressful like cardio exercises, which increases the stress in the body. Okay, and all the four that we have seen now is basically about building a habit for it. Okay, so allocating at least 10 minutes time to understand these things is important, and allocating time at least like 10 minutes for workouts or 10 minutes for you to calm yourself to calm your mind down is very, very important. Okay, so it's all about building a habit as well. So the next one, please. Yeah, so I believe there is a poll now. Probably I'm open for questions.
We'll be taking up some questions. We did have one from Tanvi. So yeah, please everybody, please fill in the poll while we do this. So Tanvi is asking if with corporate lifestyle, especially work from home scenario, intermittent fasting is very difficult in terms of controlling portion of food, and also it's difficult to eat with long breaks because body feels so hungry while working and mind doesn't work without food. Hence, any alternate to intermittent fasting?
I mean, choosing the right kind of foods can actually push you or motivate you for intermittent fasting. Okay, so like I said, choosing the base timeline of 12 to 12, or if you need, you can start with 14 and 10. Okay, which means 14 hours for consuming food and 10 hours of fasting. Okay, probably start with that and slowly move to 12 to 12, and then you can probably move to 10 to 14. Okay, so that is one thing that you can slowly incorporate into your life. Okay, and choosing the right kind of foods. When I say choosing the right kind of foods, it's important that you choose foods that has good amount of fiber in it. Okay, so it doesn't make you feel hungry for a longer time. Okay, and so which means the low glycemic index carbohydrates, which is basically millets, or the other rice, the red rice, black rice, brown rice, all those things can actually help. And choosing fruits, okay, and vegetables, more intake of those can actually help in cutting down your hunger. So just make sure that you check what are the options that you immediately rush to. I mean, in terms of like, as soon as you're hungry, what are the options that you go and pick in the first place? Okay, so make sure you have the right choices for that. So if you're craving for a sweet, then probably your body is asking for carbohydrates. Okay, for which you'll need to choose in the good quality carbohydrates, okay, so which can be the fruits, okay. So rather than binge eating on some chocolate bar, you can obviously choose some fruit. So you mindfully make this switch little by little, you will be able to do that.
If you have any questions, do drop in. We have few more minutes with Sivaranjini. There's another question: which plants to keep at home to reduce radiation?
You have plants like jade, okay, so jade and ZZ plant, okay, and then you have areca palm, money plants. All these things can actually help in reducing UVA. It's best to invest in ZZ and areca palm inside your bedroom, okay, that can actually help in reducing EM. Somewhere not immediately near your bed, somewhere away from your bed, obviously. But these are some things that can actually help you. Bamboo is not recommended inside a bedroom, okay, because it emits carbon dioxide at night, but these ones actually do the reversal. So you can keep in ZZ plants, and you can keep this areca palm in your bedroom.
Do we have any more questions? Also, there's another poll running of what kind of session would you like to join in future. You can just drop in your responses. Yes, Anna.
Can I summarize the session? Yeah, to cut everything in short, okay. One way to biohack your body is to choose the right kind of foods, okay. So and the right way of eating. So right kind of foods, meaning you need to choose more of traditional foods that you have eaten so far, okay, or opt for foods that your grandmother or your grandparents ate, okay. So that is one thing. The second thing is to choose the right way of eating. So intermittent fasting is one way to pick the windows. So you limit your intake, and whenever you have an intake, you take a nutrient dense intake. Okay, so that's the second thing. And then the third thing, obviously, you need to sleep right. Okay, so practicing different ways to sleep right is important. And then a bit of exercises is also important. Choosing the right exercise that will suit your body is again something that it is all unique to individual. Okay, so you need to choose those kinds of exercises that will work for you. If something that is really very straining for your body and you don't feel comfortable in doing it, and your gut instincts actually says that this is not for you, then probably this is not for you. You get off from that and do some mild and slow exercises, low impact cardio exercises like walking or cycling that can actually help you achieve your goals much better, rather than stressing your body just because someone had put up that you need to do this to reduce weight. No, it's not like that. You reduce your weight in different ways, okay, but it is all bio individual, okay. And then the last one is obviously maintaining and reducing your stress, for which grounding can actually help, okay, to stand barefoot on a piece of lawn or in a piece of sand, okay, that can actually help in reducing your stress levels too, okay. Any suggestions on consuming black coffee pre-workout? Okay, so black coffee and tea basically mimic adrenal function in you, okay. So there are recommendations that you can take in black coffee before, before your workouts and everything, because it can give you the push, which is very similar to adrenaline in your body. Okay, but I do not recommend taking any kinds of coffee or tea before you put a breakfast inside your body. Okay, so it is important that you have any kinds of coffee or tea after a breakfast, never before a breakfast. Okay, so what are the things that you can choose to have is fermented rice water, okay, or any fermented drink before doing a workout. That can actually help, or some munching on some peanuts or some soaked nuts can actually help for a pre-workout. Okay, but never a coffee before. Never a coffee or tea before you do anything. Or you put anything inside your body. Okay.
Next question is taking herbal shake, which is nutrient dense, to replace breakfast is okay.
I'm not sure what kind of herbal shakes, but I'm a person who never recommends any kind of shakes. Okay, unless it's a plain vegetable smoothie or a fruit smoothie that you can have.
Please suggest some good snacking alternatives for all times of days.
Okay, right. So, yeah. So, my all-time favorite is puffed rice, makhana, and popcorn. Okay, so those can be some good alternatives, and obviously you have nuts. But when you choose the roasted almonds or anything, make sure that you have the skin removed, because that is not ideally something that you need to put inside your body. Okay, so anything that has its skin removed, you can obviously go for that. Or you can make your own moong dal laddus and everything at home. Okay, so when you have a sugar craving, you can obviously opt for that. For a peanut burfi, that can also help. Sesame balls, that can also help. Okay, but make sure that you choose the ones that is made with jaggery, not white sugar. Okay, in case if you have any kind of a sugar craving, you can obviously resort to all these things. Being nuts and seeds, it actually has the good quality fat that will keep you. I mean, you doesn't leave you to crave more. Okay, so if you eat two peanut burpees or something, you will have a little bit of a hunger craving going down. Okay, when compared to the other alternatives that we actually have.
How can we start taking fiber food rather than carbohydrate?
Fruits and vegetables are the good sources of fiber. Okay, so if you have any constipation issues or anything, the first step would be to take in bananas. Okay, so one banana before bed or one immediately after waking up can actually help in setting everything right. And with that, I mean, like apart from that, you have all kinds of fruits and vegetables. They are all rich in fibers. Okay, so you choose those ones. Dates are also good in fiber. Then you have this prunes, raisins, all these things are good quality fibers that you can take in.
I'm seeing there's no more questions. So this was a great session, Sivaranjini. Thank you so much. And also we have a repeat session on the 10th, just in case you missed any half, or if you want your colleagues to join in, please recommend them the session. And they can join in on the 10th. And we do have a session on 14th. I had dropped a link in the chat. I'll do this again. Yeah, you can just register yourself for the upcoming session. We do have a yoga session as well on the 21st, and there's a 14th session on 14th about the stock market dip and everything. So I hope you like the session, and it was very informative, Sivaranjini. Thank you so much for taking us through it, and have a good day, everyone.
Thank you so much for having me.